How's it going, everyone? My name is Case, and in this video, Alex and I are taking a look at our top 5 adventure bikes for 2021. And this is kind of more of a loose list because not every motorcycle on this is going to be a traditional adventure bike.
Yeah, we've got some different options for you here. So if you're looking to buy an adventure bike here in 2021, these are the ones we think you should be looking at least. So we've got some options here for beginners as well as some really experienced riders, just a little bit of everything.
Absolutely, and the first one on our list is a bike that just recently got re-released. This is the 2022 Kawasaki KLR 650. Now, even though it was recently re-released, this has been a staple of adventure biking for a long time. And they've added a couple new features to the KLR, which are very useful. Mainly fuel injection, which especially here at altitude is a really nice thing to have. You've also got new digital instruments, updated styling, a number of small changes, but otherwise it's mostly the same bike that's existed for the past number of decades. And that's mostly a pretty good thing because it's been a very successful, reliable motorcycle. You know, we're happy to see that it hasn't changed too much.
Yeah, this bike's been around for decades. I'm pretty sure the first one came out in like 1987. You can let me know in the comments if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, this is kind of the unkillable adventure bike. People have been riding these for decades. They're proven. And yeah, if you want something that's just not going to leave you stranded out on the trail, but still has some of the modern nice touches like fuel injection, and you don't want to break the bank either, this is a really good option to go with. Starts at $6,699, and there are a few different models available this year, so you can get this bike with ABS. There's also a couple different packages you can add on to get different accessories, but overall, if you want a good, reliable adventure bike that's not going to leave you stranded, easy to fix, and that has tons of aftermarket support because it's been around for so long, the KLR 650 is a great option.
It still has a 5-speed transmission, so no 6th gear, which, granted, on a motorcycle like this that needs to be able to go off-road, so have those low gears you need to crawl over obstacles, but then also ride on the highway, on the street, something like that, a higher gear for riding on the highway, that would be really nice.
Let's move on to the next one on our list, which is the Tenera, the Tenera 700 from Yamaha. This is kind of going the complete opposite way as the KLR 650. This just came out about a year or two ago and has been really popular in this adventure bike world. But they took a completely different approach. So parallel twin, completely new school design, lots of tech. Yeah, if you just want an adventure bike with lots of torque, lots of low end power, and all the technology you need to keep you going on the trail and keep you entertained, Tenera 700 is a really cool bike.
It's also got a solid suspension setup. It's fully adjustable on the front forks, 8.3 inches of travel. You've also got adjustable preload and damping on the rear shock with 7.9 inches of travel. Selectable ABS, which is really nice for off-roading because you want ABS when you're riding on the street, but once you get over those loose surfaces, being able to switch it, that's really nice.
Yeah, this bike sounds amazing too. I actually had a Yamaha MT-07. It was actually an FZ-07 when I had it, but same bike. This uses basically the same motor. It was changed a little bit for the T7, but this bike just sounds amazing. The power is really good. It gives you lots of low end power. This looks like an absolute blast. If you want to let loose a little bit, some of these other bikes are, you know, a little bit better on the highway, but if you want something that's just an absolute monster in the dirt, looks like the Tenera 700 would be pretty cool.
And the Tenera 700 starts at $9,999, so a lot more expensive than the KLR 650, but you do get more for that cost. Now, this next motorcycle on our list is not technically an adventure bike, but Alex and I both really enjoy this motorcycle, and we think it's the kind of bike that you could use as an adventure bike, even though it's technically a dual sport. This is the 2021 Yamaha TW200.
Yeah, and 2021, pretty funny because this bike's been around since 1987 and it's pretty much been unchanged. In 2001, they removed the Kickstarter and added front disc brakes, but besides that, this has been unchanged for many, many years, just like the KLR we talked about a little bit earlier. I actually owned one of these. I had a 2004 when I was in college and when I was just learning how to ride, so I can really speak to this being a great beginner bike. I dropped it many times going off-road. It's only 278 pounds wet, so it's super easy to pick up by yourself. We know this is a dual sport, but let's face it, adventure bikes are pretty heavy, and if you're just getting into riding, adventure bikes can also be pretty intimidating, and who says you can't go out and have a good adventure on a dual sport? The coolest part about this bike are the tires. This has really fat tires, a 130 width in the front and a 180 width in the rear. That 180 in the rear is really what makes this bike look so unique. It's basically an ATV tire in the rear, makes it really easy to ride, makes it so you can corner in the twisties when you're getting up to the mountains. I miss this bike a lot. I might end up buying another one of these at some point. But yeah, if you're just trying to ride in the dirt and don't know what you're doing, get a TW200 because they're cheap and they're easy to ride.
Absolutely. And if you thought the KLR was old school, the TW200 is seriously old school. This is an air-cooled 196cc single-cylinder engine, carbureted.
Carbureted, still got to pull that choke lever on cold mornings.
Yeah, so that's super old school, but again, you know, off-roading an old school vehicle is usually not such a bad thing because that simplicity can keep things reliable, easy to fix, cheap to fix, which is nice because off-roading a bike seriously, you're probably going to break some parts at some point. And I agree with you, that fatback tire is so cool. It's got tread on the side of it. It just looks almost a little out of place for any kind of motorcycle, especially one this size, but it gives it a very unique stance.
Yeah, they're really unique looking, and they've been around since '87, so there's tons of aftermarket parts. I actually put a luggage rack on mine when I had it in college and delivered Uber Eats on my TW200. So I had some probably pretty unhappy customers that got to them with sodas that were half emptied by the time they got there. And I think I did like 3 deliveries, and then I was given a pizza, and I was like, okay, I can't really transport this pizza, so ended up giving up the Uber Eats thing. But it's a great bike just riding around in the city. You can take it into the canyons and take it off road. It does everything.
You couldn't move the pizza on your TW200?
Couldn't move the pizza on the TW.
Because I have documented proof that I can move a pizza on my Sportster.
Really?
That was in a video that we made before the TFL Bike channel came out.
We'll have to pop that video in right here so you can take a look. I must have missed that one. I don't remember you ever making that.
It is possible to carry a pizza on a motorcycle. It's not ideal, but it's doable.
Maybe I have a future in Uber Eats. We'll see where that goes. So for 2021, the TW200 comes in radical gray, which I think is a really cool look. It's completely blacked out, looks really mean, and $46.99, so pretty affordable. You're not gonna break the bank, and pretty sure this is the cheapest bike on our list, which makes total sense as our beginner option.
Now the next motorcycle on our list couldn't be more different from the TW200. This is a 2021 Ducati Multistrada V4. It's expensive, it's exotic, it makes tons of power, it has tons of tech. Tell us a little bit about some of the tech, because that's kind of your area.
Yeah, so this bike was completely reworked for 2021. We actually made a video on it a couple months ago and went through all the details in greater length, as well as we've done that with a lot of these bikes. So if you're interested in hearing all the details, go check out all the videos we did on TFL Bike. But this new Multistrada gets a new engine, new tech, and an all-new design to go with it. It's a pretty handsome looking bike, if I do say so myself. Multistrada literally means many roads, which is kind of why we put this bike on the list. If you're trying to get an adventure bike that you're probably going to do more on-road riding than off-road, you go 500 miles maybe, or even further than that, from here to California, and then do some off-roading when you're in California, and then you need to make it all the way back here to Colorado on the same bike, this is probably going to be a very good pick for you. It's got a really powerful engine. It's their new V4 Gran Turismo engine. They're going away from the old L-twins that they used to use in the Multistrada. It's based on the Panigale V4 engine, so basically a sport bike engine in this giant adventure touring motorcycle. 1158 cc's, makes 170 horsepower, 92 foot-pounds of torque, and both those horsepower and torque figures are bumped up from last year. One of the things that's really notable in this engine is they went away from the classic Ducati Desmo valves, went to traditional valve springs. That's going to save you money in service, which is great on a bike you're going to put a lot of miles on. So valve service went from 15,000 miles on the old Multistrada to 37,300, which is again going to save you lots of money. But going back to the tech, which is what you asked me about, this is the reason why this is the on-road pick if you're going to do lots of highway miles. It's all about the tech. It's the radar cruise control system that they added to this bike and blind spot monitoring. It's as an option. It uses a Bosch controller and Bosch sensors, but basically Ducati and BMW have been in a fight this year for who's going to be first to put radar technology on a motorcycle. They kind of tied, but Ducati came out a little bit ahead because they added blind spot monitoring. Super cool technology that we get in cars. We're pretty used to that on the car side of things, but it's just coming to the motorcycle. And fun fact case, the Multistrada back in 2010 was the first bike to get rider modes, and now this 2021 model is the first bike to get radar technology. So Ducati's setting trends with the Multistrada, and I think this is a technology we're going to see on a lot of bikes in the coming years.
Absolutely, and I agree with this being a more on-road focused motorcycle. You could absolutely off-road it very seriously, but it's a almost $20,000 motorcycle. It starts at $19,995, so it's not necessarily something that you would want to drop.
And that's the base model too. That's $20,000 for the base model. They go up from there. So yeah,
Plus,
you're absolutely right. You're not going to want to drop that off-road.
I know it's got different riding modes too, but 170 horsepower and 92 pound-feet of torque. Off-road, that's kind of a lot to manage.
Might be more than you need.
No matter how good of a rider you are, you're not going to use that much power when you're on a loose surface, especially here in Colorado. Everything that we come across in terms of off-roading is super loose, super rocky, very dry, and a bike like this, I think, could be a little bit of a liability. But yeah, if you're planning to ride cross country and ride some trails, I think it's potentially a really great option. It'll be interesting to see how some of that tech like radar cruise control and blind spot monitoring actually works in the real world, because that is very new to the world of motorcycles and potentially a game changer for road going bikes.
Yeah, I'm really curious to try that out for myself. I've never played around with radar tech on a motorcycle, so I'm hoping I get to do that this year. And speaking of tech, there's even more on this bike. You have a 6-axis IMU, and with that you get all the things you'd expect from a high-end tech package on a $20,000 Ducati. But one of the cool things I wanted to mention is the Ducati Skyhook suspension. It's basically load leveling suspension on an adventure bike. You know, you're gonna load it up with side cases and put all your luggage on there, maybe carry food for the next couple days while you're out on your adventure. Even put a passenger on the back. So when you do all that on this Multistrada, the rear suspension notices that you put weight on there, and it's gonna level out the rear suspension, basically like you would have in a pickup truck when you load up a trailer. Load leveling suspension, pretty cool to see on this Ducati.
Now we have to take a look at the final motorcycle here on our list. And this is a bike that we chose mainly just because it's unique. It's very special. This is the 2021 KTM 890 Adventure R Rally. Now they're only making 700 units of this motorcycle worldwide, and they're pretty much all already sold out.
They're all spoken for, so unfortunately if you want one of these, it's too late to get it from a dealership. But that's not to say you couldn't find one of these, you know, on the used market. You'll probably pay boatloads for it. But hey, in 5-10 years maybe I might own one of these. It's a pretty cool looking bike.
Yeah, and you can also get the non-rally version of the 890 Adventure, and that bike has most of these same features. It's also a great motorcycle, but we wanted to show you this Adventure R Rally because it is really cool. It's very unique. It's got more high performance components than the standard 890 Adventure. So they have WP Explore Pro suspension. You get 30 millimeters more travel than the 890 Adventure R. You get a lightweight Akrapovic exhaust, which is 35% lighter than the standard exhaust. You also get Quick Shifter Plus and Rally Mode as standard. Unique bodywork, some carbon fiber parts. It's overall a pretty cool bike to look at, and I bet it hauls.
Yeah, it looks super rad, especially the bodywork you get with this bike that's unique to the Rally. It's so cool. It totally looks like something straight out of Dakar, because it is. And yeah, it's the look of it really completes it. I know there's tons of upgraded suspension and quick shifter stuff that you wouldn't get on the standard 890, but the look of it is what I would buy it for, at least. But you can't. Sold out already, unfortunately. But the good news is that there is a standard 890 Adventure R. So you drop the Rally off the end. You don't get the cool bodywork or the upgraded components. but you still get the same great bike. And they did up the power for this bike a little. It was a 790 previously. You go to the 890 this year. So even if you don't get the Rally, still an all new bike, and it should still give you lots of fun out on the trail.
Now, the 890 Adventure R Rally starts at a whopping $19,999, which is especially a pretty intimidating price figure when you look at the base price of the 890 Adventure R. That's $14,200.
Okay, so you're over $5,000 to jump up to the Rally. You could get the Rally, or you could get that Multistrada. Actually, they're about the same exact price. So pretty crazy, but yeah, super limited editions. So that's what you're paying for.
As a bonus, we also wanted to mention a very exciting adventure bike that is going to be coming out, and that's the Harley Davidson Pan America, which is going to feature their new 1250cc liquid-cooled V-twin. This is an interesting bike. We don't have a lot of information on it because it hasn't been officially released. It will be fully unveiled next week, February 22nd, so keep your eyes peeled because we're gonna make a video on that as soon as it's out. And it'll be interesting to see what the specs are on this bike. It's gonna be powerful, that's for sure, but it's probably also gonna be very heavy. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see, so we'll suspend any kind of judgment, but what I will say is, at least just looking at the photos we've seen, this is a very interesting looking bike. I like it. The headlight is kind of stretched out, very rectangular. It almost looks, this whole bike, like a vacuum cleaner, but in a good way.
I think it has that bagger look on the front end of it. It kind of looks like that Indian Challenger we just had, and like a lot of the Harleys with the big fairings, and then you kind of get around to the side of it and you're like, well, this isn't a bagger. Well, it has bags on the back, but not a bagger. It's definitely an adventure bike. So yeah, we're stoked to take a look at the new Pan America. I saw it back in November of 2019 in a glass case, and they said it was coming soon. It's been well over a year since then, and we haven't heard anything from Harley Davidson. So I'm really hoping that the production bike looks very similar to the prototypes they've been teasing for the past 2 years. But yeah, like Case said, we'll just have to wait and see. And next week, you'll be able to get all that information right here on TFL Bike. Now, these are just the 5 bikes we decided to put on this list, the 5 that we recommend looking at for 2021 if you're in the market for a new adventure bike. But there's tons of other bikes out there. You have the new KTM 390 Adventure, which is pretty popular, the new Triumph Tiger 850, the entire V-Strom range from Suzuki. They also have the ancient DRZ over there. Honda's Africa Twin, which was also refreshed for this year. Same thing goes for BMW's GS lineup. So there are so many bikes to choose from in the adventure segment. So sorry if the one you own or the one you've been saving up for didn't make it on this list. These are just some of the 5 best that we decided you should go out and take a look at this year.
Absolutely. There are tons of great adventure bikes out there, but with this list, we just wanted to show you how diverse of a range of different kinds of bikes you can get. There's everything from small, inexpensive bikes like the TW200 to the giant, intimidating Multistrada V4 that, again, would be scary to drop on its side on a really hard trail.
Yeah, for sure. And let me ask you this last question, Case. Out of these 5 bikes, if you had to pick one of them, which one would you buy?
Of the bikes on our top 5 adventure bikes list, I would pick the one that's not actually an adventure bike. I would buy the TW200 because it's so inexpensive, especially on the used market. You can find one for less than $2,000. It's lightweight. I wouldn't care if I dropped it. And I just don't want to spend a ton of money on a motorcycle that I'm going to take off-road because I know I'm going to beat it up.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I'm kind of in the same position. I'm going back and forth between the 2 Yamahas, either the TW200 or the Tenera. I'm just really curious about the Tenera because I've ridden that motor on a street bike before. I'd love to see how it handles in a dirt bike. But realistically, I think if I were buying one to keep for a long time, I'd probably do the same thing. I'd go with the TW200. Let us know down in the comments below what the bike you would pick off this list is if you had to buy one of these. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to head on over to tflbike.com for all the latest and greatest in motorcycle news. We'll catch you in the next one.